Welcome to Lift History Podcast presented by Vintage Weights PGH. Make sure to subscribe and help me get to my goal of 10,000 subscribers so you don't miss any of my gym equipment reviews of modern gym equipment and vintage. You get it all here at Vintage Weights PGH, as well as the strength history content such as this episode. So, Lift History Podcast. This is coming in hot after the last episode about the history of curling and some of the records in strict curling and military curling, I should say, not strict curling. And we're going to look more at the results of it. So, what's one of the people you can think of in strength history that had the best arms, that had the biggest biceps? When I think of that, I think of the one, the only, Larry Scott. So I'm holding a Muscular Development magazine, and this is from June 1965. And Mr. Larry Scott is on the cover. And my goodness gracious, this man had some of the biggest biceps, some of the most defined arms of any person in human history. He was associated with training with Vince Gironda at Vince's gym, who is credited with the preacher curl pad, the preacher curl bench, if you will. And Vince Gironda, he created, for all intents and purposes, the preacher curl bench. And then he trained Larry Scott, and Larry Scott really benefited from that training. I go in depth in a previous video comparing a York preacher curl stand with the classic Vince Gironda preacher curl and the newest preacher curl invention for home gyms, the AbMat preacher pad. And that's why this video is brought to you by AbMat. So a quick plug to my sponsor. AbMat makes all kinds of products I use in my home gym. I have the classic AbMat that I use for doing some core work and some ab work. I also have the Zercher pad for doing Zercher squats. I have the Saxon grips for flexing my pinch grip. I have, as I'm looking around, I have a lot of AbMat, but this episode has to do with this product here, the Preacher Pad. This triangular pad that was invented by and in collaboration with Adam from Garage Gym Lab. This retails for a little under $100 and a lot of times goes on sale, and you can save 10% with code VINTAGE, and it is perfect for the home gym owner because it's small and it's versatile. I use it for a lot of purposes, and you just put it in your lap, and now you can do curls. And you don't need a whole machine. You don't need a whole stand taking up that valuable real estate in your home gym. So head to AbMat and use code VINTAGE to knock off 10% on your preacher pad. And thanks to AbMat for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get to it. So I found this copy of Muscular Development. I saw Larry Scott, and I thought it'd be a good follow-up to my last episode of Lift History Podcast. And this article was written by Bill Kugler, and it's all about the observations he made of Larry Scott actually training. So the article is titled, Watching Larry Scott Exercise His Arms. So let's get into it. Let's see how Larry Scott built those arms, and maybe we can replicate some of that. Maybe we can add an inch or two to our biceps. Aside from John Grimmick, who in my opinion has always had the finest physique and the best arms I've ever seen, Larry Scott probably has the most complete arm development of any present-day bodybuilder. Considering every aspect of arm development, size, shape, muscularity of the biceps, triceps, forearms, and the deltoid tie-in, Scott's arms surely rank among the all-time greatest. As manager of Vince Gironda's gym for the past 6 years, I have watched Larry gain nearly 50 pounds of muscular weight. The most amazing thing is that he seems to retain all his muscularity and definition no matter how much weight he gains. When Larry's arms first measured 19 inches, I thought he'd reached the ultimate in size and muscularity. However, his arms now tape a full 20 inches and are even more muscular than before. The secret of Larry's success, I believe, is his intense dedication to his training. He rarely misses a workout and always puts in 100% on every training session. Here's his exact arm training progress. For biceps, number 1, Gironda bench dumbbell curls. Using a special bench designed by Vince Gironda, so that's the preacher bench, Larry begins his arm program with dumbbell curls. He keeps the elbows in fairly close, while the dumbbells are somewhat wider. So, hot tip there. Bring your elbows in close, dumbbells wider. This focuses the effort on the inner head of the biceps very strongly. It is important to get a full contraction as well as a full extension of the biceps on this movement. No cheating. Larry uses 60-pound dumbbells for 6 sets of 6 reps on this movement, finishing off with 3 half reps or burns after every set. I love this little detail because, I mean, a lot of times when I think of building size, I think of higher reps, but he's doing 6 sets of 6 reps. And then there is kind of that bodybuilding, afterburn where he is doing half reps to really finish out. This seems to peak up the biceps thoroughly. After performing 6 reps with 3 burns, he immediately goes to exercise number 2. Exercise number 2 is the Duranda bench barbell curls. So he goes from dumbbell to barbell. Grasping a barbell with a shoulder width grip, he keeps the elbows in close as he lowers the barbell all the way down before curling it back to the shoulders. This is much more difficult than a regular curl because the elbows are in close and the hands wide, which really works the inner lower portion of the biceps to the maximum. As in the dumbbell version, he performs 3 half reps at the end of each of 6 reps. And we flip ahead in the magazine here. He does this to remember that he alternates the dumbbell and barbell curls for 6 sets of each. After performing 1 set of each dumbbell and barbell curls, he rests for 1.5 minutes. So, to clarify, it said he immediately goes to this. It doesn't mean that he does his 6 for 6. It means that he does 1 set of dumbbell curls for 6 reps with the 3 half reps, and he's using a weight that he basically can't get that 7th rep. He has to do half reps. Then he immediately, so he's doing a compound lift here, goes to the barbell curls and he does those. And then he takes a minute and a half, 90 seconds of rest. Number 3, Duranda bench reverse curls. Larry now switches to the easy curl bar to perform 4 sets of reverse curls. He uses a medium grip, slightly less than shoulder width, and as in every movement, he gets a full extension and contraction on every rep. He performs 8 reps, finishing off with 8 half reps on each of the 4 sets. So, safe to say, Larry was a big fan of those half reps, of really burning it out when you can't make the full rep. Next, he moves to triceps. And one of those things I learned in my 20s, probably my 30s, embarrassing enough, was just how much of your arm is made up of tricep, not bicep. In high school, everyone was focused on the biceps, and at least I didn't recognize, oh yeah, like your arm is actually a whole lot of triceps. So let's move to triceps. So his 4th exercise is the lying triceps press. Grasping the cambered curling bar, Larry lowers the bar to a position right over the eyes, then pushes it back up with triceps power alone. He locks the triceps out fully on each rep and finishes off with 3 burns at the conclusion of 8 full repetitions. So once he moves on from his first 2 exercises with biceps, now with the last bicep exercise and with the first tricep exercise, he's doing a little higher reps. He goes from 6 to 8. This movement is done for 6 sets, so that's consistent across the first 2 exercises with biceps too, is that he's doing 6 sets for his main movements of these. Exercise number 5 is a wall pulley tricep extension. So now we're going to like the cable machine, basically. It's the wall pulley because back in the 1960s, this is 1965, a lot of times they would be screwed into the wall. So the wall pulley, as it's called, while kneeling on the floor and placing the elbows on a small stool, Larry performs 8 full reps and 3 burns. He keeps the elbows in close to his head to prevent cheating. Next is exercise number 6, one arm rear extension. So he's got 3 exercises for biceps, 3 exercises for triceps. While leaning forward and placing the free hand on a small stool, Larry grasps a dumbbell in his right hand and performs 8 to 10 one-arm tricep extensions. He performs 4 to 6 sets with each hand. He uses this as a shaping exercise to round out his triceps workout. So to sum up his arm training program briefly, Larry works hard and fast with a minimum of rest, I should say, usually about 1 to 1.5 minutes between sets. He trains arms 3 times a week. Woo, that's what I was looking for. Like, how often does he do this? So he does this, 3 bicep, 3 tricep exercises, about 8 sets each with those half reps at the end of each set, 3 times a week. That's a lot of arm work. So he trains arms 3 times a week, and his arm workout lasts about 1 hour. So this takes him about an hour. He works the deltoids first, however, for 45 minutes, then the arms. So that's interesting. So, I mean, you've got to use your arms while you're working your shoulders. So his arms are already warmed up by the time he hops into this, and he's really pounding away at those specific arm exercises. So shoulders first for an hour, then he does this for an hour. I'm sorry, shoulders for 45 minutes, it says, then this hour-long arm workout. He trains the rest of his body the other 3 days per week. He gets plenty of sleep and rest and follows a high-protein diet, which includes a good protein supplement. He trains immediately after work and then eats supper when he gets home from the gym. This is a very intense arm program and much too severe for beginners. I went through this workout with Larry, and though I had been working my arms regularly, they became quite sore for 3 days. Larry has written a book on building big arms, which will be soon available. It will cover all the phases of arm training. So then it goes into like what address to write to if you want to buy Larry's book, that kind of thing. So Muscular Development was published by York Barbell, and this article appeared once again in the June 1965 edition. York Barbell has a great museum. If you're ever in New York, Pennsylvania, stop by and say hello. They were very friendly to me 2 years ago and gave me a tour around the museum. You can check out that video on my channel. And as I said, when it comes to my home gym, I use the Preacher Pad. One of the things I love about the Preacher Pad is that the arm placement on the logo allows you to do a lot of things you just heard in that article. So you can get your elbows in real close if you're getting it closer to the logo, and get your hands out when it comes to the dumbbells. When it comes to a barbell, I could scooch back on my bench and I can rest the barbell on my bench. That way, I'm not reaching all the way down to the floor. But to be honest, a lot of times with the Preacher Pad, I just kind of like grasp it and do this weird little like pick it up from the floor thing with it already resting within my hips. So you do what you want to do. And when it comes to being in my gym, the Preacher Pad's one of the favorites of my children. They're constantly sitting on it and tossing it around and using this thing for all kinds of purposes. I also use this as a leg support when I'm doing some isolated leg movements with my iron boots and health shoes. I primarily use the Preacher Pad for my biceps and triceps and arm work, though, and it has really been an integral part of my home gym. So head over to AbMat and use code VINTAGE to save a couple bucks on a Preacher Pad. Thank you to AbMat, and thank you to you, listeners and viewers. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel, Vintage Weights PGH, and help me get to 10,000 subscribers. This is Rob at Vintage Weights PGH. Thanks so much for watching.